Hello, it's time to do the March wrap-up. A little bit late, admittedly, but you know, I'm here. Okay, here is a quick look at everything that I read this month. It was 4 novels and 1 short story. Several books that I planned on reading are not in the wrap-up, and 1 book that I didn't plan on reading happens to be here. What are you gonna do? She tried. So I have 2 5-star books in this wrap-up, and the video is going to start and end on my 5 stars, so that's pretty fun. First book, or short story, that I read this month was The Machine Stops, which was unexpected, but it happened, and it was so good. So this book was written 100 years ago, written in 1909, so over 100 years ago, and it is still so relevant today. Like, it could have been written very recently, and it has some concepts, some ideas, you know, that you maybe have seen before, but it's 100 years old. So the setting of this short story, it's like 25 pages. The setting of this is that the story goes that the surface of the earth can no longer be inhabited. And so everyone lives underground in this very isolated environment. Essentially, everyone lives inside of a machine. And this machine basically provides everything that a person could need at a push of a button. Are you hungry? Great, here's your food. Do you need to bathe? There you go. Entertainment, would you like books or would you like a show? Would you like lectures to give you more ideas? There's the way that this is told, it introduces you to the setting from the perspective of one character whose name I've forgotten. And we see the world through her eyes, as is the norm and as is something that she's very happy with. She loves the machine. She loves the way the world has changed over time and feels no need to ever leave the machine because it provides everything she needs. If she needs socialization, she can get on a call. It's not a big deal. And this all changes when her son calls her and wants her to go visit him. We go on this journey where she travels to visit her son, and this whole time she's looking through the window of the airship to get to where her son is, and travel, being out on the surface, travel, it's all something that's not very many people are doing, and so she isn't getting a lot of interaction, and the interaction that she does get, she generally finds pretty distasteful because she would rather not have to actually engage with real people. She can get everything she needs back home. And all the time that she's traveling to visit her son, she's looking through the airship window, observing these wonders of the world, these historic landmarks and beauties of the earth. And she's looking out the window saying, no ideas, and closing the shutter. And so this concept of this desire for ideas and what exactly ideas means in these short 25 pages is continually touched on, but not revealed until later on, so obviously I won't talk about it. But what I will say is a lot of classic sci-fi is great for ideas, ironically. You know, you might say, oh, this is a great discussion piece, you know, the characters maybe aren't what modern day novels choose to do with characters, really fleshing them out and everything like that, or the storyline, you know, it may not be the most thrilling plot or cohesive elements to it, but the point of a lot of classic sci-fi is the ideas. The Machine Stops manages to have a very interesting plot line, and the way things unfold very slowly and are kind of indicated to us, but when the reveal drops, it's this big, like, no way. That's what this was the whole time. At least that's how I felt. It was, oh man. Oh. So it's an engaging story as well as an incredible discussion piece. I had so much fun discussing this book while I was reading it, going through the little clues, trying to figure out what was going on, noticing the tiny things that were said and being able to piece together the details about the world. But as much as I enjoyed the plot and what was being described in the story, but half of my enjoyment came from looking back at what Forrester must have seen in his life and in the development of society where he was, to be able to look forward and imagine this, and imagine a world like this. I really enjoyed this short story. 5 stars. Okay, next book is The Remains of the Day. This is my 3rd Ishiguro book. I gave Claire and the Sun 5 stars. Never Let You Go 3 stars, and then this book has 4 stars for me, so it lands right in the middle of the 3 books that I've read. This follows Stevens, whose great ambition is to be a great butler, and we start the story with him as he decides to go on a trip across the countryside. We don't know why at the beginning, but he's going on holiday, or we don't know the full extent of what he's going on holiday, and as he's traveling, he's looking back at his life and recounting certain scenes, certain big moments for him through his career. He's devoted himself completely to his career, to being a great butler. And he's really conformed his entire identity, his entire self, even the way he reacts to major moments in life. He's really conformed all of that around what would a great butler do here. So it's his greatest ambition, it's his greatest accomplishment, and now he's looking back at these major moments and reflecting on them. And the beginning of the story really wasn't, at least for me, the most engrossing thing, but it was the slowly realizing that Stevens isn't a completely transparent narrator. As he's going back and looking at his life, he's withholding certain information, or withholding emotions, or justifying certain actions. And then so slowly through subtle cues, the reader has to kind of put together the things that Stevens isn't entrusting us with, or that isn't being totally honest with himself about. So for instance, we'll see him depict something as, you know, my employer, he knows best. And so I'm very fine with everything that he's doing, all the decisions that he's making on this particular topic, no problem. It's my duty to follow out his orders, so I'm just gonna take care of the situation, and it's fine. He means well by it all. And then later, after his employer admits, maybe I was wrong about that, then Stevens is like, yes, I always thought he was wrong about it too. And you realize that he really did have a problem with it, but he refused to admit it at that time. And that's a small one, but there's a lot of things like that where the way he depicts a scene, there's a lot of undertones that you can read into, but it won't be until later that you can kind of piece together that his depiction of it was very withholding. And so while Stevens holds the reader, or his journal entries, or whatever the context is of these reflections, as Stevens holds the reader at arm's length, there's enough subtextual clues that the reader can piece together what he's not telling us. It's a story of ambitions, regrets, reflections, the concept that always looking back isn't helpful because you can't change anything, and yet it's a story of looking back. Ishiguro always has endings that really stick with me. You know, the way a story ends, it kind of, even if it's not the most entertaining story, which I read this with Jimmy and Joanna, and they both love this story so much and were engaged the entire time. I can't say I wasn't engaged the entire time. I was kind of bored sometimes. I don't think that this is the most engaging story personally, but even though it's not the most engaging story narratively, the way it's told kept me very engaged, and the ending left me wanting to keep reflecting on it for a long time. So Ishiguro, even if he's not writing the most exciting tale to me, or I guess I've never read an exciting story by him, even if he's not writing something that I emotionally really connect with like I did with Claire and the Sun, he's still, the way he writes makes me have to keep reading and keep discussing. Next up is the Odyssey, which I did do a spoiler-filled review for. This is a classic, obviously, and I have heard a lot more about the Odyssey than I kind of even anticipated, just through osmosis, just, you know, pop culture references. And so there was a lot more to this that was familiar to me than I expected, but I never studied this in school. I had never read this before, so I'm really glad that I finally did, because it was such an epic tale. I loved the adventures of Odysseus. I loved the conflict back home of all of these suitors that were infiltrating their home and being such rude house guests. I so enjoyed the different dynamics of, free will and people's ambition and people's pushing for their own agency, but also the involvement of the gods and how much control they had and their interference with things. There's so much that I enjoyed about this book, much like Remains the Day. There's so much that I just didn't find interesting as well. There are these long side tangents or repetitive scenes that just felt like I was dragging myself through. So that's really why the rating is so weird on this, because there were sections of the story that just kind of drug the overall rating down for me personally in the end, but there were also such extraordinary scenes that were very emotional and very exciting. So I don't know, I'm kind of mixed on this as far as how I would rate the individual parts, but I'm really glad I read it, and I had a great time overall. Next up is The Lonely Broadcast. Okay, so The Lonely Broadcast is a horror book. We're following a girl named Evelyn who is working in a radio station tower just outside of the forest. The radio station is on a channel that shouldn't be playing a radio station and can only be picked up in their hometown. Clearwater? Sweet Haven? I don't remember what it's called. And so they have very few listeners, but it is a comfort to those listeners. And they have a lot of people calling in to tell them about the horrifying things that they're seeing or dreaming or thinking of. Anyway, no big deal. Evelyn runs the radio station. She gives news updates, she gives weather updates, she talks about music, and occasionally when the fog rolls in, she warns everyone and shuts everything down. Don't ever stop the radio transmission. Don't ever let it go quiet. We've got birds with human eyes, we have sentient fog, we have people that disappear in the forest and then are mutated and become part of the forest. It's very in-your-face horror. It's not like creepy, eep into your bones, you know, the kind of horror that I really like. It's very like grotesque and unrelenting. It's very unrelenting. I really was surprised by the character side of this story. I thought that Evelyn was our main character, and any side character that might show up, that's gore fodder. They're just gonna die in front of us very grotesquely. And sometimes that was true. And sometimes we actually had this amazing character building and loyalty and devotion to one another and self-sacrifice. I mean, it was amazing. In fact, that was probably my favorite part of the book, is this very unexpected bond between certain characters. I also had a lot of issues with the writing though. I don't think that the prose was strong. Certain scenes that felt pretty repetitive, certain details that were inconsistent. And it was like small things, like, you know, Evelyn's name shows up on a phone as her nickname, and then the next scene someone else picks up the phone and it's her full name, Evelyn. Or like, you know, she says she puts someone on her shoulders and then it says that they're piggyback on her back, and it's like, it doesn't matter. It's just something is described one way and then it changes, you know, a couple scenes later. One character loses his hearing, and in one scene he has to read lips in order to be able to get through the conversation, and then the next scene he's talking on the phone with no issue. So it's just like, it doesn't matter. But there was one thing in particular that I felt could have been a lot more cohesive, and I can't talk about it because it is like a big reveal, and the big reveal should be meaningful, but because of the way it was depicted, when the reveal happened, it recontextualized everything at the front, and it didn't work as well as I think that it could have done. None of these things ruined the book for me, they just kept pulling me out of the book. My biggest thing though was because I am more of a, you know, very slow build kind of horror, because this book, you know, from the front end is very just, here we go, we're going with full-on horror, unrelenting to the very end. By the time I got to the end, I was really ready to be done. I just kind of got fatigued by the amount, which I mean, you know, that's very subjective. There's a lot of people that would love that, so give it a go if that sounds like your cup of tea. It was a 3-star. There were things I really liked, there were things that I really didn't. Okay, finally, Lost in a Good Book. Oh, I love this book so much. Okay, if this series continues to be what books 1 and 2 have been, this is gonna be on my top series list. No problem, easy, like probably top 5 if it continues at this level. This author could write any of my most hated tropes. Pick one, any one, do it, put it in a book, show me that I can like it. Like any trope, any concept, any literary tool, go ahead and use it. I trust this author to make it awesome. Thursday is an absolute gem of a protagonist. This is the sequel to The Air Affair, by the way, which was one of my best books of last year. Thursday is such a wonderful protagonist in such a chaotic world. She is the anchor in the midst of the chaos because she rolls with absolutely anything that comes her way, and she plays it as the straight man. Like she just kind of goes with it as if it's normal, but she never is the chaos. She never misses a beat no matter what's thrown out at her, yet she has this, all right, we'll just get down to business, we'll handle the situation kind of way about her. In this book, we continue to jump into other books to investigate literary crimes. We're in Sense and Sensibility, The Raven, Great Expectations, and more. We deal with Neanderthals who have been brought back to life, but they don't have rights, and so they would like their rights, please. And so we have to work with them and deal with that whole conflict. There's a dodo that she's very sweet, but the main conflict here, it was not that the dodo is a conflict, I just really like that she has a pet dodo bird. The main conflict here is that her husband has been erased from time and history. So there was just this little tampering with timelines, and he's not alive anymore. Very inconvenient. Not her favorite day. We get to see old characters that I love. Her dad and her uncle are my 2 favorite side characters, or have been my 2 favorite side characters, but we have a new one that I love as well because we got a bunch of new characters in this book. My favorite, Miss Havisham. I forgot her name for a second there. What a delight. The way I complained about A Lonely Broadcast being unrelenting, someone else might complain about this book being unrelenting with the constant chaos, because every scene is just one after another, just short sequences of what now? Like you have to read these books slowly because it would be so easy to miss something significant because they move so fast. Not in a fast-paced way, but in a, like, the humor and the wit is so quick that very quickly you could get lost in a scene because the play on prose even is so clever. All the literary references and all the play on words and the way characters interact with each other, so quippy and quick-witted that you just have to take it in. There were so many scenes from the opening scene. If you've never read this series and you have access to a copy of the book and you just want to see, is this humor gonna work for me? Just read the opening scene of book 2. You won't need the context, just enjoy it. There's a scene in the middle of the book, a trial, that I would love to just hand to people out of context because it's just, oh, it was so funny. There's so many great scenes. Every page is a delight to read in this series. I love Thursday. I love so many side characters. I love the ridiculousness of the plot and the brilliance of the humor. I just love so much about this story. Oh my goodness. If you like Discworld and Hitchhikers and Alice in Wonderland, if you like nonsense and stuff, just try it. I'm very excited for book 3. I'm very excited about this author. Those are all the books that I read in the month of March. Oh shucks, I have to tell you about this. Okay, so I was supposed to have read the book that wouldn't burn and the book that broke the world this month. I got halfway through the book that wouldn't burn and I just didn't finish it. I remember the first time I read the book that wouldn't burn, I really loved the story, but had so much trouble really getting fully immersed and engaging with stuff in it, or with the reading, just with the process of reading it. And I've had that experience with Mark Lawrence before. I just really struggle to get fully immersed in the way that he writes. And this book has easily been my best experience with Mark Lawrence, but I still, just for whatever reason, I can't fully connect, but I love this story that's being told in the book that wouldn't burn. So what I'm gonna do, my plan was to just blitz through all 3 of these books because the 3rd book was just released or is about to be released. So I wanted to just read them back to back, do a reading vlog. It still might happen, but what I've decided to do, since I have already read book 1, I found a detailed summary of book 1, so I'm gonna read through the summary and then get into book 2. And hopefully reading through book 2 will finally connect for me and the reading vlog can happen. Not exactly as I had planned on it to happen because I did DNF my reread of book 1 and I'm just gonna go into book 2, but hopefully it'll happen. But if I can't connect with book 2 either, if I just like Mark Lawrence's stories but I can't connect with his writing, if that's just gonna be a fact for me, then the vlog can't happen. I mean, I guess it could, but I don't wanna force myself to read stuff. I mean, these books are long. That's the update on that. I'm very sorry. What a disappointing note to end this video on. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna get into book 2 and we'll just see how it goes and see where that takes me. Please do chat with me more about these books in the comments. Let me know if you've read any of these, if you want to discuss them further. I would love to continue chatting with you about them. I'll see you again soon. Bye.